All right, so 3.2 is all about solving inequalities, and this is very similar to whenever you are solving equations. There is one exception. So when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. So if it's pointing to the left, you point it to the right, or vice versa. Okay? So it's only multiplying and dividing. Adding and subtracting doesn't change it. Just keep that in mind. So that's the one thing people mess up on. Otherwise, it's just like you were doing an equation. So I'll stick with what I was doing before. Let's draw our line. And we are trying to isolate the x. So how do you do that? Well, you get the -3 off of it. So it's +3. So we need to do the reverse or the opposite, which is subtract 3 from both sides. Okay, do I flip my sign? The answer is no. It is just multiplying and dividing by negatives. So now I have 12 minus 3, which gives me 9. And notice I just dropped my symbol straight down and then the x came down. All right, so now we need to graph that. So let's put 9 in the middle, then go 1 above and 1 below. All right, x is less than 9, so that will be an open dot, and less than will be going to the right. So that's what your graph will look like. All right, so let's do this one. So we'll draw my line down. So we are trying to isolate the x. So right now it's x divided by -2. So to get the -2 off of there, we have to do the opposite, which is multiply by -2. And when you do that to one side, you do it to both. And this is the correct way to write multiplying. On the left, I kind of had to squeak it in, but for sure on the right. So don't write it below or anything like that. That is the mathematical way to write times -2. All right, if you notice, we are multiplying by a negative, so we must flip your sign. Okay, so whenever we multiply -2, those cancel. That's the whole point why we did it. So we have x is, and then we flip it to go in the opposite direction. And so now 10 times -2 will give you -20. And that is your answer. So now let's graph it. Put -20 in the middle, and remember, go backwards. 1 below -20 would be -21. And 1 above would be -19. Okay, so I do need you to put 3 points to get your full credit for this. So this is less than or equal to, so I'm going to have a closed dot. And then the direction going less than or equal to is going to be this way right here. Okay, one more. So, or let's do another one. So we've got 3x is greater than -9, so divide by 3. Divide by 3. So my question, so these cancel, right? And you have x. My question is, do we flip the sign on this one? There is a negative in the problem. And the answer is no, we do not flip because of this 3, and that's not the negative piece. So we didn't divide both sides by a negative, so the sign stays the same. And then we have -9 divided by 3, which is -3. Okay, let's graph that. Get your number line down. This is x is greater than, so it's going to be an open dot going to the right. Another one. So we've got, looks like I need to add 9. Since we're adding, we don't have to worry about flipping our sign. So I have x is greater than or equal to 6, because -3 plus 9. All right, so now we're ready to graph this. So greater than or equal to, it's going to be a closed dot. And then greater than or equal to 2 goes to the right. So there we go. All right, 2 more, and then we're done with this section. So we are going to draw our line, and now it's a two-step equation. So just like we were doing in the last unit, looks like we need to isolate our variable term. So it's 2x minus 4, so we need to get that minus 4 off of there by adding 4. Okay, sorry about that. There was an announcement. So add 4. All right, these cancel, and remember, drop everything else down and show your work so you don't make a mistake. So negative 14 plus 4 will give you negative 10. Divide by 2 to get it off of the x. So those cancel. And we have, do we flip the sign? The answer is no, because that 2 was not negative. So we have negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So we have it like this, and this is negative 5 is greater than x. I prefer to flip it. That's just a personal preference. So that way, if whenever you flip it, you have to flip everything. So the x, and then the arrow still needs to be pointing at the x, and negative 5, okay? So the reason I just prefer, if you are cool with reading it backwards, x is less than negative 5, you can. I just like to flip. Okay, so put negative 5 in the middle, then negative 4, negative 6, right? This will be an open dot, and less than, so it's less than negative 5, so it's going to the left. All right, this one, we're going to isolate our variable term, the negative 3x, by subtracting 4 to both sides. So now I have negative 3x, negative 9, and I'm dropping my symbol down just to keep everything in line so I don't forget anything. All right, what do I need to do to get the x by itself? Well, I need to divide by negative 3. So when you divide by negative 3, you must flip your sign. Don't forget that. So now it's going to be pointing to the right. So x, bring the x down, and then the negative 9 divided by negative 3 would be 3. All right, now I still am going to flip it back again, so the x is on the left. So flip it, x, or read it backwards. X is less than 3. So that will be, right here is 3. So that will be an open dot. Ooh, I'm just realizing I made a mistake. I forgot my less than or equal to symbol. You can see it up above. So this should be a closed dot. My fault. Glad I caught that. So less than or equal to 3 would be going this direction. And there you go. That's it for inequalities.